In this video, we will assemble the coat including shoulder and side seams, sleeves, and some preparational work for the back vent. First, work on the shoulder pleats in the front and the back part. Therefore, your sewing pattern shows a little X and O. You'll now fold the line labeled X on the line labeled O. Make sure to keep the orientation of the pleats as this is important for forming the silhouette. Top stitch 3 cm long and fix them in the seam allowance towards the neckline. Lay your back pieces right sides together and pin the back seam together. Close the back seam up to the vent marking. Iron open the seam allowance. In preparation for finishing the coat vent, we already iron on the interfacing for the fold and the underlap at this point. This makes processing the vent easier when sewing in the lining. For your right piece, use the fold line in your back piece for the fold. Continue ironing on the interfacing on the other side. Careful to do it on the left side of your fabric. Carefully cut into the seam allowance above your vent. On this side, you'll only fold the seam allowance over. Secure the top with a pin. Before we finish the vent later, close the shoulder seams and press the seam allowances open on each side. Lay the two sleeve pieces right sides together and only close the upper sleeve seam. Press seam allowances open. Here too, we prepare the lower sleeve edge in advance. We fold up the sleeve hem and iron. Then we iron on interfacing for a little over the fold. We sew a seam next to the fold line in order to secure interfacing and have the fold lay better later. On the upper sleeve head, set a seam with a long stitch and sew along the sleeve head. When pulling that thread slightly, you'll gather the sleeve head to make it rounder in order to set the sleeve in your armhole. This is what it looks like rounded. Now you can set in the sleeve by aligning the upper sleeve head to your shoulder seam. The extra fullness of your sleeve head is adjusted by pulling the thread. See here how we are just aligning the sleeve head along your upper armhole opening. That's quite easy as we haven't sewn the side seams yet. This is done in a continuous motion after. Omit the seam allowances at the end. Now press all seam allowances open. It is best to use a round pressing ham in order to round all these seams. You can see here how the seam allowance at the end is not yet sewn together. Now sew the lower sleeve seam and the side seam in one step. Press the seam allowances open. Make sure that your seams under your arm exactly meet. Now sew the whole seam from sleeve to hem. In our next video, we'll tackle the assembly of our lining coat. If you're interested, we would love to see you in the next part.